Welcome to the next video. I have prepared a bit of Python code regarding the last video about the Python PEP8 guidelines. And you can now check for this example.py file in the PEP8 folder. And you can check in which line we have some problems or inconsistencies with the proposed PEP8 guidelines. I will go through these. At first, I said in the last video that you should order your imports. So the first block would be standard library imports like sys, OS, and so on. The second block would be third-party imports, so packages that are, for example, installed via pip, for example, NumPy or pandas, would be third-party imports. And the third part would be first-party imports. For example, here I added a mylib.py file, which has a print hello function. So this mylib file is a first-party import since it's a Python module written by myself, which lies in the same directory. So it's just I'm just in the same Python package. And the problem here is that I haven't ordered it correctly. And if you ask yourself, okay, I get it, to distinguish these different types of imports, but why should I do at first the standard library imports? It's just a convenient way that every Python programmer knows about. And if you know about it and you see that the Python code separates some imports and you see, for example, in the first block are import sys, import OS, and so on, you directly know, okay, these are the standard library imports. In the second block, there are some packages listed or imports listed, and you see, okay, these are the third-party imports. And you do not know every single third-party package that exists in Python. No one knows every package. And you might not know, okay, is this import a third-party package? Is this import maybe a standard library import? But if you just separate these different import or package types, so to say, you just directly see, okay, this must be a third-party import, for example, even though you do not know this package. So if you do not know the package pandas, for example, you would see, okay, pandas is in the second import block. And based on that, I would think, okay, pandas is most likely a third-party package. So it's just to easier see what import belongs to a standard library package, what import belongs to a third-party package, and what import belongs to a first-party package. So it's just about easier understand the different import statements, since you cannot know every single third-party package, or you may not know every standard library package that exists. Okay, so the next part would be our function. The function name itself is written in camel case, which only should be used for classes and own types. And our function is not a class, obviously, so we should use for functions the snake case convention. So we would separate each word with an underscore. And also each word should start with a lowercase character. So this would be another issue regarding the PEP8 guidelines. But as I said before, the code would run without any errors. Yeah. The next part would be if we want to align the parameters of a function with, for example, some parameters in a new line, these parameters should start on the same column. And I have one more recommendation here. If you want to separate parameters, or later on at a function call the arguments, in different lines, I would rather argue that you should use one line per parameter. So one parameter in each line. And this could be like this. in my opinion, it's much easier to see which parameters we have for this function. If you list 2 or 3 parameters, for example, in one line and another 2 or 3 parameters in the next line, the reader of the code might ask himself, okay, does this separation of the parameter names have any underlying information that I do not see yet? This is a valid formatting of your parameters, but what I use most times is to align the parameter names one tab after the function definition. So let me just shift it back. In my opinion, it's much easier to separate or to align the parameter names if you just make a line break after the opening parentheses. So if you add a param8, for example, it's much easier because if you press enter now, for example, again for param9, you are on the correct column now. And now you do not have to shift the parameter name to the correct column of the other parameters. So my recommendation would be, if you want to separate the parameter names in several lines, you should use one parameter in one line. And as I said, you should align the parameter names on the same column, which is in this style, the easiest way, in my opinion. Okay. So at next, also the alignment of, for example, list values. So this list is not, the code line itself is not very long, and you do not have to separate the list values in several lines. But if you want to, I would also suggest that you align these like this. So we have the opening brackets, then we list our values, tab in with 4 spaces. So 4 spaces after the starting column of the previous line. So the starting column of, for example, here, my list variable. And the closing bracket is on a new line, which is on the same column as the variable name. And it's just a recommendation. You do not have to separate values of a list in several lines, and you do not have to separate parameters of a function in several lines. But if you want to, this is the proposed way that I think is the most easy to refactor and the most easy to read, in my opinion. So these were some parts of the PEP8 guidelines I just wanted to underline again. Okay, so I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.